All right. Yeah, we had to do a remix for the intro of this episode because this is the sex episode. This is the Black Russian podcast. Howdy, how is everybody? How are you doing? My name is Tion Buku1.
I'm Yula.
And we are in episode number 4. It seems like every time we do this, between the 2 weeks, is like a whole universe happens. So many things happen in just 2 weeks. And so now we'll get into this one. But first, as we always do, we like to recap the last episode, which was Polyworld. Was that a little more fun for you than the monogamy episode?
Yeah, it was definitely more fun. It could have gone much longer. It could have kept going. But then we heard complaints. This is too long.
Yeah, well.
Which Tion says, bullshit.
Yeah. Never too long. It's meant to be consumed over series of times or a really long drive. But the good news about a podcast or a long album is that you can stop it and then come back to it later and listen to it later. So, but yeah, the Polyworld episode was long. It was great because there was so much to talk about.
We only scratched the surface.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah, we'll be probably lapping back around and talking about things and topics in there as well as in the other ones. So, it was great. I'm glad you guys listened. Thank you guys for participating and responding back to us. There was much more participation and response than it was in the monogamy episode. And that's a good thing. So what we'll do is we'll go into our quotes before we get into the meat of this episode. So, Yula, would you like to share your first one?
Sure. This one's from Marilyn Monroe. We are all born sexual creatures, thank God. But it's a pity so many people despise and crush this natural gift. From a sex symbol.
It must be true. Okay. Mine is erotica is using a feather. Pornography is using the whole chicken.
No chickens here.
Which I'm not mad at the whole. I'm not mad at the whole chicken.
Away from me. I don't want to chicken.
Use the whole chicken.
No way.
Go ahead.
I'm a vegetarian. Don't use a chicken on me. Use a banana or something.
Okay, your second quote.
All women possess a right to be erotic for themselves. Our erotic energy is our core growth energy. Acknowledging it as the core energy within ourselves leads us into sexual and personal empowerment.
Okay. Has your accent changed in the last 2 weeks? You sound like your accent's thicker. Did you go somewhere?
I don't know, did I? Maybe I like it so much I decided to thicken it.
Yeah. Well, we turned up her microphone for everybody who's concerned about whether you could hear her or not. And so we got her on a separate line.
Well, I'm also laying on the couch. Maybe that relaxes me. I'm going to relax it over to Russian.
There we go. Well, it's good. It's working. It's loud and clear. I think people will be very pleased to hear you in all your splendid gugagin. So my second quote is, I blame my mother for my poor sex life. All she told me was the man goes on top and the woman underneath. For 3 years, my husband and I slept in bunk beds.
Wait, who said that?
Joan Rivers.
Oh. My last one is, every desire of your body is holy. Every desire of your body is holy.
Ooh, worth saying twice.
Mm-hmm.
All right, mine is be with somebody who inspires you to be naughty. Be with someone who brings out the freak in you. And I think we did that. So I'm not a virgin anymore. Which is pretty good, pretty good. Okay, well, good. Welcome.
Well, maybe heads up to everyone, not everyone. If our kids are listening or if you don't want to know the details of my stuff, Tion's stuff, this is not an episode for you.
Yeah. This one is not going to be PG-13. It'd probably be rated R. Some X's, there might be some profanity. Maybe.
Oh yes, at the end.
You never know. You never know. You never know. I might say fuck
No.
or suck dick
No.
or eat pussy.
Shocking.
Yeah. Can you say any of those?
No.
No? All right. So we're going into the sexploration. First of all, Eula, do you want to tell us what actually is sex?
Well, I looked it up in the Merriam-Webster dictionary.
She knows.
Well, when I looked up sex, it gave me a definition of, like, female and male, which is not what we're looking for. But sex act is an act performed with another for sexual gratification. I think that's a good start.
Right. That sounds like a great start. There's a lot of broadening specifics, nuances to that. Some people assume and act like sex is just when the penis meets the vagina. But there's so many other ways, especially if you have two women, lesbians, two men, oral, fantasy, desires, blah, 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 blah. There's so many different things to do, so many different ways to define that. Hopefully we'll go into a whole exploration of the different ways, meanings, hows, acts, myths, perceptions of sex in this episode, and it's going to be fun, be silly. Maybe we'll do this one live one time and you guys can participate and you can ask questions and go naked if you choose. So, is there something else you looked up right here? I'm looking at this next topic right here. Like, why is sex positive talk so taboo in the Western civilization?
My thoughts on it, I think it's religion.
Yeah.
All the hated religion. And then, religious people can't procreate, can't have sex other than for procreation. So that's, once you have a goal in mind, why you're having sex, then you want to talk about it.
Right. And if it's not supposed to be for pleasure, if it's only for English is hard now. You got me tripping. I read your notes and it says religion emphasizes sex for recreation only. Like, no, it's procreation, but it's autocorrection. It's like, it doesn't sound like a religion. That's another like tantra. But yeah, so religion really makes sex a function of procreation, and any type of sex for desire, for pleasure, is usually looked at as taboo. So therefore people don't talk about it, although everybody feels it, is curious about it, enjoys it, or at least seeks some understanding of what role it plays in your life beyond procreation. And so that probably plays a huge role in why the Western civilization is so...
Yeah, but no one now has sex to procreate. I mean, most people have sex to not procreate.
Very true.
So why are we not talking about it?
I know. That's why we're waking up like, yo, it's time to start talking about this. We've already denounced the whole religious definition of why people should have sex, so why are we talking about it? But those old habits die hard, as we know. People have a difficult time communicating. We all struggle with different parts of communication, and we work to expand it. And that's what the podcast is about, is us communicating to you guys about it, you guys communicating to us, and us having a conversation about this stuff. So,
So, okay, question.
Yes.
Do you think that monogamous people have less conversation about sex than non-monogamous people?
I would like to think so, because when it comes to non-monogamy, there's so many more things you have to talk about. There's guidelines, there's boundaries, there's expectations, there's
also a fact that you're having sex with more than one person.
Right, which provokes questions like, how does that work? Where do you do it? Where do you not do it? Where monogamy is like, you're mine, I'm yours.
Right.
Bam, we're good.
Right.
But I know there are in any quality relationship. Oh, disclaimer. We'd like to say before we go into any podcast about any topic that no one relationship style is more divine than the other. It is the quality of the people involved and their commitment to communicating with themselves as well as the others. So, in saying that, there are probably a ton of monogamous relationships that have great conversations about sex and fantasy and desire and stuff like that. In the system of monogamy, it's less required because you're pretty much knowing that you're just with this one person. So there's not a lot of natural reasons to ask questions of like who you're having sex with, what are your fantasies beyond me, or if you, how can we incorporate this growth? What does this all mean? A lot of times, we find in monogamous relationships. I know in my past relationships, you don't really talk about anything sexual beyond that person.
Yeah, which means that your sexual energy is gonna either depend on yourself or it's gonna dry out.
Yeah. Or you guys, you just gotta keep sprucing it up, keep reinventing and rebranding yourself, and that's what we're all about. So, any solid relationship can totally do that if you're committed to it, and being open. Of course, in non-monogamous relationships, and of course, in homosexual and lesbian relationships, they probably talk about it a lot more because there's a lot more variables. Like Dan Savage, we talk about, he was saying, in monogamous relationships, it's assumed that sex means the penis is going in the vagina, that the woman's getting fucked. Like that's pretty much what that means. He's like, but when there's two men,
right,
it's a natural question of like, okay, who's fucking who tonight? So
and that's tonight, right?
Right. It could totally change, and that's one of the things. He's like, we kind of have to talk about it. There's no assumption, and he was saying a lot of times that allows for more creativity, and sex that transcends just one person getting fucked all the time. And so he's saying, imagine a woman being able to say, "Hey, tonight, I want to have sex, but I don't want to be fucked tonight," and just watch a guy's heads explode. Like, well, what are we gonna do? Well, there's so many other ways things can be sexual without just penis and vagina. So these type of scenarios, like lesbian, gay, poly, there's just so much more to discuss. It's like there's options, there's ways to do that. So I think it naturally leads to a more open, more dynamic conversation because it's just more variables, not because it's better or anything like that. It's just more variables. And so, we like to talk about it. We figured one of the better ways to have really good sex is to share with yourself and your partner what it is you like and what you don't like, and listen to them and have the conversations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Don't want to be like Indiana Jones. Yeah.
Not always easy.
No. So, Dan Savage is a person I've been looking up a lot and listening to, and Esther Perel is another one. You hear about her off and on throughout the podcast duration, but she talks about how men over exaggerate and women downplay their sexuality. So we'll talk about perceptions that men portray and then perceptions that women portray. You want to talk about the men ones or the women ones?
I'm talking about the women's ones.
Well, you know how men front, but go ahead.
No, you go first.
Okay, well, men, there's a lot of over-exaggeration, and a lot of times with men, it's about, how much we're having it, or how hard we hit, or smash. Some call it like smashing. Like, you smash?
Have you gone to locker rooms?
I've been in a lot of tour buses and minivans.
Oh, no.
But it's a very machismo, macho type, like, I did that, I conquered that, like how long you can last, or how strong you are, how big things are, and it's all this like overcompensation, ego-based things. It's
So where do you think it's coming from?
It comes from just the set default standpoint that men are supposed to be macho, and it's a conquest thing, and it's a braggadocio. It's a form of bragging. It's a form of showing dominance over other men. It's like, yeah. So there's a lot of that, and
So how do you feel when you're in that tour van, or
well, a lot of times I squirm.
Mm-hmm.
If it gets a little, I don't mind the jokes, and I don't mind, but when it gets misogynistic and when it gets a little chauvinistic and degrading, it's just like, come on, dude. Like, I know you care about these people more than you act like you do.
Have you ever had those conversations?
I have always had those conversations, and a lot of times I'll get, dude, why do you even talk about these things like that? Because I'm like, I'm a sensitive dude. Like, I'm a mama's boy, and I love sex, and I love nasty sex and all types of good sex, but I do kind of have to care about the person a little bit. Like, I have to like them. You know, I have to like appreciate them. I have to want to please. I get pleasure of pleasing, so I have to like be compelled to want to please. You know, and besides, like my ego is more like, yo, my shit is special.
Yeah, but you don't really, like, you don't even talk about it.
Like I don't tell dudes my shit is special.
Right. You don't tell anyone. Like you don't talk about who, how, when. Like.
Oh no, I don't kiss and tell.
Right.
I'm not a kiss and tell person. I believe in the sacred wealth. But you know, I believe in talking about it, but I'm not specifics about who, what, when, where, and how. I just think it's, you know, that's kind of I don't want to call it disrespectful, or degrading, because some people don't care. But I kind of squirm a lot. I don't like to brag about stuff like that. I'm not. My ego's in a different place. It's not about trying to convince these dudes that I'm hella cool. You know, especially not about the conquest of women or harem I've macked on or. You know, so all that stuff, then the pimping, like all the whole, like, you know, and the popular pop culture with the over rap, sometimes hip hop and rap goes a little far off on that, but it's from like the pimp culture, like, you know, people admiring pimps, you know, and that's, you know, got a little off the tracks. So like if you could control a woman's mind, you know, you could pimp her, you can get her to do shit you want her to do, and you fresh, and people think you kind of cool.
Right, so that's what the guys front in reality, they're all sensitive and they want like one special one, or they really do care, and maybe they're insecure about how they perform and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's just my thoughts, but I kind of think that most men are sensitive 13-year-old boys who, you know, a lot of times may not have got the love and the nurture that they needed when they're growing up, so they hardened, but that person's still inside of them, and they don't know how to ask for those things. Everybody wants to feel good. A man, a woman wants to feel good, wants to feel loved, wants to feel respected, but if you don't have the tools on how to go about that in a positive way from people, then you create tools to extract it from people and to mask pain. I mean, a lot of men, we have a hard time dealing with pain, dealing with rejection.
So it's how men are raised?
A lot, yes. I'd say a lot of the reason why men act the way they do with this bravado and ego and like